Welcome into Rounding the Bases, the podcast about culture and leadership with a baseball twist, presented by Community America Credit Union. I am Joel Goldberg, and I have a guest today. This is an interesting one from a standpoint of, and he'll talk about this as well, that he and I have briefly met a couple of times. We both kind of feel like we know each other well, but we really are just getting to that point. I've just always heard that he has an incredible story, and we're trying to share some of that today, and then I'm really looking forward to getting to know him better. But in a world that often asks, how much can I make? My guest today asks, how many people can I serve? Isaac Wambua, founder and CEO of Dynamo Methods, emerged from humble beginnings in a Kenyan village. As one of 7 children, he came to the realization early in life that he wanted to accomplish something greater than his circumstance. With grit and determination, he learned English, immigrated to America, and has built a business from the ground up that's solely focused on helping others. Isaac is a believer that in life, people can choose to run away from pain or to go after fulfillment, but with the right mindset and someone to remind them how good they really are, anyone's dream can transform into a story of success. And today, Isaac has a business that is involving coaching and consultation, training, speaking, and much more, because he continues to grow. And it truly is an amazing story. And so I'm happy right now to be joined by Isaac. And, you know, Isaac, I know you tell your story a lot. We'll tell it in a moment. Humble beginnings is probably a very mild way to say it, because it's not a normal path to grow up in a village in Kenya and then have this productive life in the middle of America in the Kansas City area. But that's what you've done. And I know it's not that easy. It doesn't happen overnight. First and foremost, welcome to Rounding the Bases. And it's good to finally be able to spend a little bit of time with you.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you, Joe, and great to see you as always.
Yeah. And it's, you know, like you and I talked beforehand, that we would bump into each other at some things. And you had a really nice energy to you. You're an easy guy to be around. And your story, we all have our own story, but your story is truly an incredible one. And we'll talk about your business and everything you're doing and everything you want to do in a little bit. But in the simplest of forms, how does a kid from Kenya land in the middle of, well, really, you landed in the middle of, close to the middle of Missouri, but in the middle of America?
You know, the real answer to that is that I didn't know where I was going. I I tell the story that I just wanted to escape the village. When you talk about poverty and struggle, wanted to have a better life. And when I got an opportunity to come to America, I applied for school and I was accepted to two universities. One of them is Fort Myers State in Florida and University of Central Missouri in Missouri. And so I didn't look at the geography where I'm going. Fort Myers State was kind of like 5 times more expensive than UCM, and I decided to go to UCM. So, you know, I get on a plane, land at MCI, which is the airport. It was around 8 p.m., cold, you know, coming from a warm weather to extremely cold place. And I get taken to college, go to the dormitory, go to bed, wake up in the morning, look through the window, and I saw cows and farms. And I looked at my roommate, and I was like, where are we at? And he said, we are in Missouri. I said, is that in the US? He said, yes. And then I asked him, why do we have cows and farms? He said, where do you think we get our meat from? This is America. And so I didn't know where I was going, but I'm glad that I landed in Warrensburg. That's the small town where the college was. So I didn't know, but I just wanted to escape from the village and be able to get here. And I'm glad that I did.
And that's what, about 15 or so years ago?
Yeah, that was close to 16 years ago.
Yeah. I think you told me it was New Year's Eve.
It was New Year's Eve. So 2006 crossing over to 2007. That's when I landed here. And like I said, it was wintertime, of course. And we never get snow in Kenya. That was the first time I saw snow. But beyond that, it was extremely cold. You know, there's something a story that I haven't told that much. In Kenya, when it's sunny, it's usually warm. Basically, that's what it is. And we never even use all these kind of gadgets to check the weather. We never look at the weather at all. So when I was in Warrensburg, one day, after snowing several times, I looked outside and it was sunny outside. And I said, finally, it's warm outside. And I stepped outside in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt to walk to the library. And as I was walking, people were driving by. Then they were asking, do you need help? Do you need a ride? And I said, no. The cold doesn't kind of bite you immediately. Took about 5 minutes. And by the time I got to the library, my hands were frozen. So that was my kind of culture shock. I thought, since it's sunny outside, it's supposed to be warm. I should have probably consulted someone.
You didn't know what you were getting into, and
No.
you didn't know that you were going to find a new home. I mean, you came here, you wanted to finish up your school, and then who knows what happens. And here you are all these years later, living in the Kansas City area, where I know this is very much home, even if it's not your roots. And I'll talk about your business, your consulting, your coaching business in just a moment. But, and I know you talk about this a lot. I'm just always amazed. And I've thought about this a lot with some of our baseball players, that these guys, different circumstances, but oftentimes they can come from a warm weather climate, oftentimes from a poor area, not always, in the Dominican or Venezuela or something like that. They've never seen snow. They've never felt the cold. And they get signed up as early as 16 years old with the way the rules work. And suddenly they find themselves in the States with no real direction other than baseball. And the baseball's gotten better in the sense of they're now helping to teach these kids culture and language and all of that. So in one sense, you land here, you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
But the flip side of it, to me, I would think, is that you were an educated kid. It's one thing to grow up poor, but it's not like you hadn't had education. So how much did that help you coming over here, even if you didn't know exactly where you were going in terms of the middle of nowhere? And how different was it here versus your village in Kenya?
Yeah, thank you. First off, you're right. Education made a big difference. Actually, it gave me the confidence to be able to leave my country and come to the US without any relatives here, without knowing anyone. There's something that I learned at a very early age. One of the stories that I tell is that I was brought up by a single mother, 4 brothers, 2 sisters, and growing up in the village, it was kind of like a dark place where there's not much food, no electricity, no water, like no resources. And within a very short time, we figured, my brothers and I, we had to take care of ourselves. And when you're a kid, you always know that the adults are the one who have the resources. So I figured my pastor from my church, some of the teachers, and some of our neighbors had all these resources. So somehow, which probably was just accidental, I found myself aligning myself with these adults. And I remember my classmates making fun of me, and they said, how do you become a friend with adults? You are friends with old people. So I learned the power of mentorship and finding someone who can guide you. And I remember when I was in 6th grade, my English teacher, really the guy who encouraged me to learn to speak English, he was my mentor. And he told me that if you learn how to communicate, that's going to open a lot of doors for you. So coming to America, really, I knew that I can communicate very well. I was fluent in English, totally different English from America. I struggled quite a bit, probably 2-3 years before I got a good hang of it. But I knew enough to communicate. I knew enough to ask for what I wanted. So I'm a hard worker. I knew if there's a chance to get a job, I can get a job. So I could take that risk without worrying too much. And when you're a single guy, I can sleep anywhere outside, on someone's couch. It doesn't matter what it is. But I was ready to take that risk.
Well, there are a couple of things you mentioned there that you can control, and we all can control our work ethic. You can control, to an extent, the communication if you're willing to put yourself out there. Now, it obviously you need to learn how to communicate and you different kind of English, as you said, but it just sounds to me like you came over here on a bit of a mission, and that whatever you do, whatever you were going to do, you were going to do it working hard, paying your dues, and earning it, and you've done that every single step of the way. I mean, it was your goal, maybe your dream, to leave where you were at, as much as I know you love your home country, and to start something and give yourself the best chance. I mean, it's all worked out. Now, I would say that there's still a long ways to go, because I don't think you're done, but it has to be pretty amazing to look back now and say, Boy, all those years later, when I left my little village in Kenya to go get a master's degree at a university that I didn't even really know what it was. It was just cheaper than the other one. By the way, the weather would have been better down there in Fort Myers. You know that.
Yeah,
But
I know.
yet this set up your whole future.
Yeah, you're right. I was on a mission. Initially, I didn't know that I was. Just wanted to move out of the village out of desperation. So something happened when I was in fifth grade. One thing probably I haven't told you is that my dad left when I was 9 years old. So with no resources, it was really tough. And something was preached over and over again at school, outside school, that education was the key to success. That was kind of like the motto down there. And when I was in fifth grade, my mother sat me down and she said, "You're really good with books, but you play too much." And she said, "If you can stick in school and do well, you're going to be the person who is going to save us from this environment. We'll be able to have a better life." I was very young, but I got the message. And since that's the only thing I knew how to potentially become successful, I decided to really work hard in books, and I was able to do well. I got done with primary school, went to high school, went to college, became an engineer. So I never forgot that message. And my mission was to make enough money, go back, help my mother, take my brothers through school, kind of really break that cycle of poverty. Because when I look back, it was like my great grandpa and everyone else was just poor, and there was no hope in that particular village. And that's why, and this is something that this is the first time I'm talking about it. That's why I delayed even starting a family, basically getting married. I had a girlfriend right after college and she wanted to get married, and I said no, because I knew if that happened, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I wanted to do. So coming to the US, yes, I came here as a student, and I got to finish my school, but I still had that mission. I really wanted to help my mother. And 3 years after I came here, I worked hard and I built my mom a nice 3-bedroom house. Now she's happy. Took my brothers through school. They all have families. And then after that, I decided to start a family of my own. But in the process, even though I wanted to just kind of break that poverty cycle, I've learned so much. I mean, right now, I'm so happy that I was born in the village and I grew up in the village. I've learned so many things and I have a very good perspective about life. So
Well,
yes, that was the main mission that I was on.
it's who you are. It's your roots,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
you never lose that, even
Mhm.
though you have changed. We all change with our experiences and worldwide experiences in your case. But I sometimes I like to ask people what their dreams were. Yeah, and here in the States, sometimes it's, hey, I want to grow up to be like so and so athlete or so and so movie star. Every now and then, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a firefighter, something like that. Well, did you have dreams like that, or was it as simple from that point that you mentioned of, no, my dream is to break the cycle?
I had several dreams, just like any other kid. We would dream about different things. And I remember that one of the dreams was one day to drive a car, to either own a car or drive a car, because there were a few people who had cars in my village. Actually, it was just one guy who used to live in the city, but there was a road that passed by our village, and in the morning there was a bus that will pass, and then the bus goes back in the evening. And there was one guy who was a driver. One day he allowed me to get on the driver's seat, and I sat on it, and I said, one day I want to have a car. And this is how sometimes things work. And if only we can allow ourselves to dream. We had a tree right next to our small house. And every evening, when I hear the bus passing by, I'll get on top of the tree and I'll hold, two branches, and I'll act as if I'm driving a car, and I'll make these noises with my mouth. I told Scott Havens, our friend, this story. He just laughed almost to death. That was my dream, and it got embedded in my mind for so long. And now, I got to a point whereby I have a car. So it was part of my dream. Yes, I wanted to get out of the village, but I also wanted to have good things. I remember one time I went to my neighbor's house, but by the way, we were so poor, we didn't even have a radio or TV. I mean, it was just bad. But one day I went to a friend's house, and we were watching a movie. It was a black and white TV. And one of the things that I saw was a guy kind of wrapping a towel around his waist. And to me as a kid, that was the coolest thing that I could ever do. And I said, okay, I want to grow up and have a towel of my own so I can wrap it around my waist. And what I was told is that if you do well in primary school, when you go to a high school, there's a requirement for you to have a towel. So I knew I got to work hard so I can go to high school so I can have a towel. It's about the small dreams that lead to big dreams. So yes, I had those small dreams, and now, really they are nothing at this point, but they still bring a lot of perspective to me.
Well, they're nothing in scale anymore, but certainly from a nostalgia standpoint, and also again your roots. I mean, there's an innocence to growing up, whether that is in a poor village or even in a wealthy area. There's the beauty and the innocence of being a kid. Although it sounds to me like you had to confront or lose some of that innocence earlier than what others do, from a standpoint of survival, from a motivation of taking care of your mom, your father leaving, and all of that. So here you are all these years later, and you beautifully told me before we started the podcast that Kansas City's my home. I didn't plan on it being my home, but this is home.
Yeah.
Again, you've got your roots still in Kenya, and I know so much of your heart is there too.
Mm-hmm.
But this has all worked out so well. More to come.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your business and how much you are fueled on an everyday basis to help others.
Yeah. So again, thank you for recognizing that Kansas City is my home. I love it. I built a very good network here. Sometimes you leave your family, kind of blood relatives and family, and you go to a place whereby you get a new family, even way before I got married. And Kansas City, I'm so blessed in a way that I can walk into almost every business meeting and there's someone that I know. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. So talking about my business revolves around people. I came from the engineering world, whereby it's all about design and just very mechanical stuff, and that has its place. But I discovered very quickly with the companies that I worked with, something was lacking. There was no much attention to people and people's potential and how to develop them. So I decided to start a business whereby I can help people to discover their potential and use that potential so they can step to what I call their greatness. And it's different for every single person.
Mm-hmm.
Could be stepping out of the village like me, or buying a new car, or becoming someone. So my business revolves around that. And we have one segment, which is the business coaching and the consulting. And with that, we help small businesses and medium businesses to streamline their processes and systems, which are also tied to the people. Basically, we are trying to help them to have a recipe for the business so they can predict the results. And it's possible to do that, whether it's in the marketing and sales and the stuff that they're doing. And then after we do that, we focus on the people, which is the biggest chunk of what we do, which is developing the managers, the supervisors, the leaders to learn how to communicate very well the expectations to their people. But beyond that, how to care about them so much in a way that they can retain them, they can attract the best people and retain them. So we spend a lot of time developing those managers. And then, of course, the other piece of my business is speaking. I get asked to tell my story. Sometimes people hire me really to on a subject like communication or leadership. But as soon as we start talking, I realize really that's not what they need. I just had a speaking engagement about a week ago. And this is the interesting thing. I had everything all prepared. My slides, it was a day and a half, and I did all those trainings. And towards the end, I asked people, okay, what was the best part of the training or the thing that you really enjoyed the most? Yes, people said different things, but there were two people who walked up to me and they said, I loved everything that you taught, but the most impactful part of your presentation was the story that you taught. Because here's what someone asked me. His name is Dave, and Dave asked me, what was the defining moment for you? When did you know that at some point you're going to be successful, or you come to America and all kinds of good stuff? And it took me back, because he asked me for one thing. I mean, there have been so many defining moments, and it took me back to when I was 12 years old. When my dad left, he had money, and again, he had a house right next to a small house, and my dad would wake up in the morning and not even talk to us, go to the market. That was it. And one day I was supposed to go to school, and I didn't have a pen, which in Kenya you got to buy your own supplies. And I asked my mom for money. She said, I don't have money. Go ask your dad. I went to my dad, and he said, I'm not going to give you any money. As a matter of fact, never ever asked me for money. And he chased me away with a cane. Really, he threw a cane, to me. Thank God my dad was kind of a big guy, so I was able to outrun him. And that was the defining moment. I remember I was 12 years old, and I said, I will never ask my dad anything. And not just my dad, I'll never beg for anything. I'm going to work hard, grow up, become a man, have my own money. And that's what I told Dave last week. And I'm an African. We don't really cry. We kind of just suppress our emotions. But Dave almost got me to cry. I had to fight the tears because it took me back. Not because it was a bad thing that happened. Of course it was. Not because I was feeling sorry for myself, but it gave me a perspective of how much I've grown. And when you make up your mind, even at a very young age, and you say, I'm going to work hard, it's possible. So really, my business revolves around showing people what's possible for them. I do two things. Yes, it's coaching, speaking, and training, but I only do two things in my business. I inspire people and I empower them. Inspire them to show them what's possible for them, who they can become, what they can have, what they can do. Then I empower them with the resources on how to get there. Yes, I do motivational speaking, but I don't want to just pump people up and make them feel good. Then after that, they don't know what to do. So there are those two spectrums, inspiring them and empowering them. And it's really a fun job to have.
That's not anything that you dream about. You are dreaming about finding that success yourself. But now I could hear it in your voice. I could see it in your face. I also understand it. There is and I know not everybody listening here is a speaker. Most probably are not. You don't have to be a speaker, but to have the ability to move people, to help people with change, to be able to affect their lives and give them the tools to be better is, to me, one of the most rewarding elements of life. And, you talked about having that mentorship when you were a kid. I find myself now, as I get older, believing in that responsibility to share what we know, not just in terms of a paid speech, but how can we pass on our expertise to others? And it's just, you find so much purpose in this. And then when it can be your own story, I mean, I don't think you ever realized when you were growing up or any of those moments that, hey, these moments are not just going to shape me, they're going to help shape others. That has to be an incredibly empowering feeling.
It is a good feeling. I never thought about that. Like you said, I was just trying to make something out of myself and help myself, really. Which kind of selfish thing, but I really wanted to escape that. But I didn't know that these experiences will be able to shape other people's lives. And honestly, I never used to tell my story. At some point, again, going through phases, I was angry at my dad. I was angry at neighbors and everyone else who made fun of us. And one particular one is my brother David, who is older than me, who were coming from school and were passing through the market. And there were a few men and women who were sitting outside a coffee shop. And someone said something loud enough for us to hear. I believe it was on purpose. And he said that, you see, these boys, they are going to grow up to become thieves and thugs who will be breaking into our houses. We need to be careful. And in my head, I'm like, why would you say that? So besides the poverty, besides not having a father around, people try to suppress us. And I never used to tell that story because I was so angry. And I said, if only my dad was around to teach me how to be a man, to teach me how to ride a bike, to not to have to suffer. But the moment I decided to open up about the story, people wanted to hear that story. And it was a healing for me. And I said in the beginning that I'm so happy that I grew up in that environment. It was a character building environment for me.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah. So really, right now when I talk about that story, I'm like, I don't even want to have it any different. It was designed to be that way. It was meant to be that way. And I just want to use that story as much as I can to inspire others.
Well, and you mentioned, maybe it was selfish. I don't think so. We all have to take care of ourselves first, whether that be self-care, mentally, physically, financially, take care of our families. That it always starts there. It has to. The selfish part would be that as you came to understand all of this, as you came to understand what you had learned over the years, it would have been selfish not to share that with others. And that doesn't mean everybody has to get up on a stage. That could just be the kid down the street or someone that you have networked with. The selfish part will be hiding that from others. And now it takes courage. It takes courage to tell your story. It takes courage to go places that you didn't expect to go mentally. And you were moved, as you were saying before, about almost being transported back to that time. And so it takes a lot of effort, mental fortitude, and courage. But I think that from a selfish standpoint, I would say selfless with the way you are able to take these experiences and share them with others. I want to let everybody know before I get to the baseball theme questions that Isaac's website to learn more about him and everything he's doing is dynamomethods.com. It'll be in the show notes as well, www.dynamomethods.com. Also has a lot of good videos online. So if you just search for Isaac Wambua, 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 it's all in the notes. You can see it. You'll learn more about it. I want to get to my baseball themed questions. And yeah, you've been in Kansas City long enough to have seen a little bit of baseball, but as you know, I'm not asking you for to dissect, what we call America's pastime. Although you may be able to at this point. I know there wasn't a whole lot of baseball going on in Kenya growing up, but these are, as you pointed out to me beforehand too, these are life questions. These are life topics. So, professionally speaking, what has been your biggest home run?
My biggest home run has been stepping out there and making it happen when I'm scared. People tell me, I've been told for many, many years that I'm very bold and courageous. But what they don't know is that I'm always freaked out sometimes. It's just being able to step out there. I used to step out there because I had to. Now I step out there because I want to. That has been a game changer for me. Taking those risks, big difference maker. Whether it's in my personal life and my business life. I talked earlier about building a big network. It was not that easy, and I remember when I started to network in 2015. Actually, a friend of mine that was in business around the same time as me, she introduced me to networking, and the first networking meeting that I went to here in Kansas City was right on Shawnee Mission Parkway and Flam at a grocery store. I showed up there in a suit and a tie and shook hands with a few people, and only one person said hi to me, and the whole time they didn't talk to me. Like they talked to each other, they ignored me the whole time, and I was drinking sweetie. I think I had like 4 glasses of sweetie. And I had a very bad experience. And after that, I called my friend and I said, man, this networking thing, I don't think it's going to work. And she said, you just need to be consistent. When they see you enough times, then they are going to trust you. So I didn't go back to that particular group, but I went to different groups, and I came to learn that people really open doors. So that's called courage, even when I don't know how things are going to go. And that has been translated in so many other areas as well, including being able to leave my professional job to be able to do this as a business. And I continue doing that. So a home run for me has been just stepping out there and making it happen when I'm scared.
That's beautiful, and a great lesson too. And a reminder to, I think, everybody out there that with vulnerability can potentially come success. I don't know, there's probably a better way to say that, but I just, sometimes it's easy to play it safe. I don't think you had a choice. You had to step out there. So, you were, if we're going to use, this analogy, you were pushed out of the airplane, and the parachute was there. It opened. You were okay, but you didn't have a choice. You had to go, and it was uncomfortable. But now you look at where you are, and you're a great networker, and certainly in your space. How about a swing and a miss? And what did you learn from it?
Yeah, my swing and a miss was in college. I went to University of Central Missouri, and even though right inside the college, I was able to get a job working in the cafeteria. Basically, that's just the requirement as an international student. And towards the end of my master's degree, I was offered a position to become an assistant, kind of like a graduate assistant, to teach the freshmen. And I looked at how much they were paying, and it was not that much. And I was offered a job outside the college, which was paying a little bit more. So I decided to take the chance just to work outside the college. When I look back, no regrets, but it was a miss because there were several things that could have come as a result of that. I only looked at the dollar amount. I didn't look at all the other benefits. And even though the head of the faculty tried to show me all these things, again, out of desperation, I was like, I gotta make money as quick as possible. I need to help my mom, help myself. I really want to make money. So I decided to take a job. So that was a miss for me, and it's an opportunity that I missed. So that was really not a very good one.
And then the last one for baseball is small ball. And you've talked a lot about those little things already, but how would you sum up small ball to you? What are the little things that add up to big results?
To me, it's a very high level of discipline, and it's not like the hardcore people say no pain, no gain. I don't believe in that. Nobody wants to be in pain all the time. But this discipline is having a routine. Okay, first of knowing what you want to accomplish, coming up with a plan and execute that plan. So being very disciplined, that's really key for me. I wake up at 5 o'clock. I have a routine. The first 30 minutes, what I do. Sometimes I don't want to do some of the things, but I do them. I intentionally connect with the people, and those pay off. So discipline in every single thing that you do, whether it's networking, connecting with someone, teaching a class. I was speaking the other day, and someone said, "Okay, so can I get your slides?" I said, I can give you the slides, but probably they're not going to be relevant in 5 months. They said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Because I revise my slides all the time, depending on what's happening. I never use the same slides every time. I don't have a signature slides because I believe in continuous improvement." So high level of discipline has been a game changer for me, and I believe those are small balls for me.
Great stuff. Let's go to 4 final questions as we round the bases. The first one, I think it's interesting that you and your wife have made your home here in the Kansas City area, yet you're both from Kenya, yet you also couldn't be more different in terms of your backgrounds and languages. Explain that a little bit, because, sometimes here in the States, we can just assume everybody is, that they're from that place. Well, it'd be like saying that someone in Warrensburg is living the exact same lifestyle as New York City. They're different. So tell me about your wife.
Yeah. So again, I have a beautiful, lovely wife. First off, we are very different personality-wise. I'm very extroverted. She's very introverted, and that works very well. We both come from Kenya, but we come from 2 different tribes. I come from the eastern side of Kenya. She comes from the central side of Kenya. So we don't speak the same language. That means at home we speak mostly English and Swahili, which is one of the national languages. I speak a little bit of their language. I understand most of the stuff, but she doesn't speak mine. So that's how different it is. Culture-wise, yes, it's different. Actually, my wife was in Kenya earlier this year in January, and she went to spend time with my folks in the country, in the village where I came from, and she had a good time, even though she didn't understand most of the stuff that they were saying, but she could tell that they were friendly. So that's the beauty of communication without even saying words.
Well, it's amazing, and I just think it's really super cool that both of you have made this your home. With that said, the second question, you get to go back to where you're from. This podcast will release around middle of November, but you are getting ready to go back to Kenya. How often do you do that, and what is that experience like?
Yeah, my plan is to be able to go back every 2 years. It might be more frequently than that because of several things that have been happening. So we've talked about the growth of the business and growing as a human being as well. I've learned the power of not necessarily giving back, but empowering other people. Taking you back to the village that I came from, it's a place that, again, it's a poor environment. And one of the things was kids going to school without shoes, really not having shoes at home and in school. And I was one of those kids. And it really gets hot in Africa, especially during summertime. And one of the things that would happen is that you walk on the ground, it's too hot, and you get sores on your feet and blisters. And when I think about that, it still gives me chills. So what I've decided to do is to go back to the village and provide shoes to these kids. And it's amazing when you get a thought and you decide to work on it. This thought came about 6 months ago, and I started talking to a few people in Kansas City what I'm planning on doing, and things have been rolling. So some of the friends here in Kansas City want to go with me to Kenya next year to distribute these shoes. So when I go to Kenya this time in December, I'm going to lay the groundwork, talk to the teachers, get to know the population of the kids. And then we are planning on doing it every single year, give them a pair or 2 really nice shoes that they can use at school and at home as well to make sure they are approved. That's going to be a service project. But here's one more thing as well. As I've been sharing with people about this, I was speaking on a virtual event, and one of the guys sent me a message, said, "I have an idea about your shoes project." And we talked on Zoom, and he said, "I know a guy who is already doing that. And this guy is based in North Carolina." And I talked to this guy about 2 weeks ago. So they have all the logistics. They have been distributing shoes in the world. And when I talked to him last week, he said, instead of giving shoes to just the school kids, how about we give shoes to the whole village? Now he wants me to know the population of the village. And I think that would be cool. And that's just going to be the beginning, to give them that. And then we are going to identify a few other needs based on the resources that we have. So I'm really pumped about that. It will take me back. But the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is being able to go and play soccer with the kids in the village. I mean, I miss it. I think it will be a way to connect. I know it's a small thing, a little stupid, but I'm looking forward to that time to be able to play soccer with the kids.
No, that's not stupid at all. That's special. And
Yeah.
it'll certainly take you back to your childhood, and it'll connect you with them. And so that's amazing. Third question as we round the bases, you've got that charitable spirit in you. And I think it's who you are. And I'm sure some of that comes from just your background and appreciating what you have now. By the way, there are a lot of incredibly charitable people that didn't grow up the way you did, but I could tell that it's so much in your heart, not just going back and helping in your village, but doing so here in the States as well. Tell me about that, because I know you're involved in a lot of causes.
Yeah, I believe that the seed of being able to help other people and be charitable was planted in me. Like I said, people picked an interest in me, from my English teacher in 6th grade, the principal who used to share his lunch with me because we didn't have food, went to high school, the high school principal as well. And all along, even when I moved to the US, people have always picked an interest in me and helped me without expecting anything back. Even my business, when I stepped out there and I said, I'm going to start a business, it was a crazy idea. Some people told me I cannot do it, but some people believed in me even when they didn't see the whole picture. So I've learned that you got to give back. You got to be charitable. You got to give back to other people, because the things that I have, yes, from a human perspective, I deserve them, and I feel that I do, but I don't have them because I'm the best person in the world. It's by grace. I'm a man of faith. So it's by grace, it's by faith. Someone had faith in me, they invested in me. And if there's a way I can help really other people through the reputable organizations that I'm a part of, then why not? So that's something that I'm going to do. It's not going to stop. That's just who I am at this point.
When you go back, where do you stay?
When I go back to Kenya?
Yeah.
So different transitions. So because the time zone is different, number one. So you land in Nairobi, which is the capital city. Then you stay there for about 3-4 days just to get used to the weather there. And then, I go to the village. I can stay, we have houses there, or just a few miles away, we have a town, the place has been developing. So there are some hotels, and we have houses as well. When I go there, like you said, I still belong there. I can easily acclimate myself to what's happening in the village. My wife just ordered some hiking boots for me, because that place rains. I need those when I'm down there. I'll be in the farms. I'll be going to the river. So it's just going to be a village life. The only difference is that I haven't been there for a while. But you can stay in a hotel, or you can stay just in the houses down there in the village.
All right. So last question, sort of related to that as we wrap things up, my walk-off question. You mentioned buying the house for your mom. I mean, to go from the village without anything to a 3-bedroom house. I've seen that for a lot of years with a lot of the baseball players, that, when they make some money, they're able to go buy their mom a house or something that they always wanted. It's one thing to take care of people and to give back, but to have been able to have done that for her and to be able to change that life. What did that feel like?
It feels incredible. It feels great to be able to do that. And I just wanted her to know that she is a very successful mother. She played the role of a father and a mother at the same time. She didn't waste her time, like really all the efforts that she put in, and because she worked in people's farms just to feed us and buy us clothes. But beyond that, and I tell people, I think my mother made me a motivational speaker. She's the best speaker I've ever listened to. By the way, my mom has never been to school. She cannot read or write, but she could see the future. She was the first person who told me, what people say about you doesn't make you who you are. She told me seasons come and go. They never last. She said, you don't have to be greedy. Don't look at what other people have. And she used to say, in our language, she used to use the words, my son, this is going to pass. I mean, those are the most powerful words. And I just wanted her to know that she made a big difference in us, and particularly me. She painted that picture for me. So me be able to not just build a home for her, I just wanted her to have a comfortable life. But people made fun of us and they made fun of her. Part of it was for her to feel like, okay, finally I got something out of really struggling in this life. So it really means a lot to me. My mom is she's my best friend, and I tell people I'm a mama's boy who can pay his bills. I'm responsible enough, but I'm still very, very close to my mother.
That's so special, and I can only imagine how she felt to have received that type of a gift, and I'm sure she was very humble about it, and I'm guessing she probably told you it wasn't necessary, but I know life-changing. And without having met her, forget about the education or the reading and writing. That's a smart woman. That's a woman that gets it.
Yeah, she is.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, your story, and I know we've just done some of it, but that should give a lot of my listening audience and viewing audience a bit of a taste of the lessons, the impact, the stories of Isaac. 'Cause I'm pretty sure you didn't tell me all of your stories. We just got to some of the key ones. But for anyone that wants to learn more, the website is dynamomethods.com, dynamomethods.com. The speaker, the coach, the trainer is Isaac Wambua. And I'm so happy to be able to just help share a small bit of your story. I know that our mutual friend Randy Powell did the same on his platform and helped further connect us. But grateful for you spending the time, for the impact that you're making here in our community, your community, as well as back home in Kenya. Safe travels back home, and just really glad that we were able to do this.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. It was great being here, and looking forward to share more stories with you. And let me just say this on this platform: I really respect you. Like you said, it's like we know each other. I've listened to you speak. I've watched you speak live, and you are just one of the most selfless people that I know. Thank you for making a difference, not just in Kansas City, but in the world. I look up to you. I want to be like you when I grow up. So keep on doing it.
Don't grow up. You've already grown up plenty, but no, I appreciate that. That means so much. And I know it's from the heart. The feeling is mutual. Isaac, thanks. We'll do more of this.
Yeah, thank you so much. God bless.